思い出さなきゃ。大切なこと。
Yo, what's good? Lad here. We've got another great traveler being added this week. The one, the only, and the bestie, or Castti. She is by far my favorite character in the entire OCTOPATH series. I haven't liked the video game character as much as I have until Castti, but now she'll be joining us in COTC. She is an air apothecary of the Approval faction, hailing from the Memoirs of Celestia. She is the best support for Axe users. Imagine an Axe version of Richard, and you have Castti with goodies. Not only is she the best waifu, she is the strongest of all the apothecaries when it comes down to having the highest physical attack stat. Let's go ahead and check her out. She's voiced by Michiko Neya, with the same VA as Riza from Full Metal Alchemist, or Ryuju from One Piece, the best enemy of them all, Mako from Initial D. 20 years have passed from my first time watching Initial D, and my heart still hurts for Ikitani. I would like to get behind a Nissan Soul 80 one day, and I've yet to upload my trip from Japan. Well, enough about that. Let's go ahead and check out Castti's notable damaging skills. Her first attack is an SP cost of 62. She goes first, and she does a 4-hit random target axe damage attack, potency 45, and it lowers axe resist by 15% for each hit for 1 turn. Her second attack is an SP cost of 48. It's a 2-hit AoE axe damage attack, potency 95, and a max boost. This becomes a 4-hit AoE attack with a potency of 110. Her third ability is an SP cost of 70. It's a 5-hit single target axe damage attack, potency 55, and at 6 stars, this gets improved to 6 hits. Her last skill is a SP cost of 40, and it's her TP skill. It's a 1-hit single target axe damage attack, potency of 260, and if she has more than 6 buffs or debuffs on herself, she gets a plus 50% potency to the skill, and if she has more than 12 buffs or debuffs on herself, she gets a 100% potency to the skill. Now for her EX skill. With 6 or more status effect icons or buffs or debuffs, and 2 usages, she gives all allies 15% to physical attack and axe damage for 5 turns. And if she uses 1 or more BP, she raises the potency of all ally skills by 30% for 5 turns. If she uses 2 or more BP, she also gives them all a damage cap of 50,000 for 5 turns. And if you max BP her EX skill, she gives dead aim to all allies 2 turns. Now for her Latent ability, it's a turn 3 or after, and you can reuse it after 6 turns. You can choose from one of the 4. First one being a front row restore HP of potency of 205 and also restores 25 SP, or a front row restore 1 to 4 BP, but she goes last, or for her third one, which is front row 15% to physical attack, crit, and axe damage for 2 turns, or lastly, her fourth ability, which she gives all enemies a 15% down to physical attack, defense, and crit for 2 turns. For ultimate, at level 1 to level 10, she gives all allies an HP restore, potency of 200 to 250, and an SP restore from 50 to 100, and then she also gives them a 10% at level 1, 15% at level 10, a physical attack and axe damage up. Now for her notable support skills. Her first one is a 40 SP cost. It's a front row HP regen, potency 150 for 2 turns. Her second one is a 15 SP cost. She carries status elements to 1 ally and gives them immunity to some status, and at max BP, this reaches the front row for 2 turns. Her third support skill is a 60 SP cost. It's a auto revive to 100% of a single ally's HP, and this has 4 usages per battle. Now for her passive, she gives the entire front row a +1 hit AoE axe damage follow-up after they use an axe attacking ability, and this follow-up axe attack has a potency of 200. Her second passive, at full HP, she gives the entire front row a plus 15% to physical attack, crit, and axe damage. And then she has the 10% in ice resistance and 20 in fire. Taking a look at her stats, she has the highest physical attack of all the apothecaries, even still on the JP side. A level 100 at 435, 485 at level 120. The rest of her stats are similar to the other apothecaries, most of them being on the slower side and having a higher than average HP pool. Now with that said, it's time for the main question. Should you pull? As a axe support, she's similar to Richard. Would it make sense to pull for her if you don't already have notable strong axe users like A2, Hayes, Cecily, or Nefty? These are just a few to name, but if you just want to future-proof yourself with one of the best axe supports in the game, Castti is a great pull. But with that said, the future of COTC still favors swords and daggers, so it's entirely on you on who you have in your current roster. I would put her right between a nice to have and a must have, but unless the future of COTC shows more love for axe users, she'll be stagnant until then. I find it a bit odd how COTC changed her into axe DPS, when in the actual game, the majority of us used her for broken and concoction skills, but nevertheless, she has a 5-hitter to axes at all times, and at 6 stars, this becomes a 6-hitter, so that by itself is pretty amazing. Our buffed Nefti can do up to 7 times, but that's after a few turns of her building up her cheer points. When it comes down to actual physical attack stats, Nefti is a step behind Castti, as comparing both her and Castti at 6 stars for their attack, Nefti caps at 405, while Castti caps at 485. Her cheerful scrapping has a potency of 190 that gets up to 380 at max boost, and is able to hit 3 times, dealing massive damage. This again is her best nuke attack, whereas Castti's best ability is her 6-hit attack at max BP, which has a potency of 100. Theoretically, our buffed Nefti should deal more damage, as her skill potencies are much higher than Castti's, but remember that Castti's base physical attack is much higher, and she's at 6 stars, while for Nefti, it's gonna be a while until she gets her 6 stars. Her passive skill is something that we've never seen before that comes from a character. It's a follow-up 1-hit axe attack with a decently high potency of 200. Now her A4 accessory is kinda insane. It's a 100 to physical attack and 40 to crit, and upon break, you get a capped 30% passive axe resist down right off the bat. And at the start of battle, all enemies get a 3-turn axe resist down for 10%. The 30% axe resist down by itself is an insane ordeal. We haven't even gotten that when it comes to swords, so that's an amazing accessory for axe users. Her best Latent skill is her skill where she gives a 15% increase to axe, physical attack, and crit. After using this Latent skill, her EX skill can also add another physical attack and X damage up, so she by herself can give your entire front row a active cap of 30% to X and physical attack up. She can also lower enemies' X resistance by 15% as well. But hold up, that's not all. Additionally, her ultimate can also give you even more damage, as she gives the entire front row a physical attack up and X damage up that stacks with everything else. And as I said before, she is an X version of Richard, but obviously cooler, and she's one of the best waifus in the game. Next, longevity. I can still see her being used in composition with axe users, as she provides the best support and abilities to keep your axe damage up. But sadly, as mentioned before, COTC is still a game where they heavily favor swords and daggers, so you might not get too much mileage of her until they decide to release a broken axe user that will pair well with her. Let's go ahead and finish up. Get their design, 5 out of 5. Come on, it's Castti or Bestie. She by far has one of the best OSTs of all time. Listening to her theme just puts you there, you feel me? For VA, 5 out of 5. I never finished the Full Metal Alchemist, so I don't care too much for Riza, and Ryeju from One Piece showed up later in the series. While with Mako Initial D, she was only in the first stage episodes, so I haven't heard too much of her work, but as I originally played Octopath 2 in the English dub, I slightly prefer her English VA over her JP VA, as she sounds a little bit older than the JP version. Anyways, moving forward, abilities, 3.5 out of 5. Most of her kit are things that we've seen before, as she basically is a Richard in axe form. Her passive, with the additional 1 hit of AoE axe, is definitely nice. Longevity, 3.75 out of 5. In the future, if we get better travelers or broken axe skills, she'll definitely be in your party. But as stated multiple times, this is a game that favors swords and daggers. Global buff, 0 out of 5. She didn't get any. Time limited, yes, she's part of the Memoirs of Celestia. Overall impression, 3.65 out of 5. Best waifu, and I like her. I sort of wished that she was catered more towards being a broken support rather than being an axe DPS support, as that was how I used her in the OG version. But I'm glad she has more versatility than some of the OG Octopath 2 travelers, so I can't hate on that. I'll definitely be pulling for her, as other than her being the same age as me and having hands ready E for everyone, she is such a cool character. But to those pulling as well, I would prioritize getting her to ultimate level 10 first, and slowly working your way to get her A4 in the future, as it's busted for axe users. Okay, well that was it for Castti, or Bestie. Let me know if you'd be pulling for her. I'll catch you next time. Take care of yourself. That out.